And we talked briefly about the fear people have.
Yeah.
But that fear is never going to go away if you just pull your shades down, lock your doors, and think if you turn your back, they're not going to bother you.
Yeah.
That fear is already instilled in you because of the person that's living across the street from you, the person that's living in the same block or in the same building in some cases in the city and in housing complexes. You're going to have that fear for the rest of your life. Now, if texting the information or calling us anonymously is an option that can help start the process to eliminate that person from your life,
why not?
Then why not?
Yep.
Why live with that fear? Or live in fear of retaliation when you're already living in fear? Mm-hmm.
Try to do something about it.
At least there's some hope. And hey, police officers live in fear. I mean, you showed the funeral of 4 police officers killed in the line of duty.
Absolutely.
Earlier this year, Oakland, California, 4 police officers killed, ambushed. Pittsburgh this year, 3 police officers killed.
It's a dangerous profession, dangerous job, yeah.
And if police officers feel they're getting cooperation with the public, then a little bit of their fear has subsided also.
Yeah.
There are people on our side.
Michael, great point. Yep, you're true. I mean, we're all in the same boat. We all have the same goal in mind. We're all trying to make the city a safer place. It's like, we all have to deal with a certain amount of fear, but the bottom line is let's do what we can working together to try to overcome it or move beyond.
Yeah, and partnerships have been the word since I've been on the job for 12.
That's what I mean. You hear it all the time, but I think it's at some point people don't realize it's said all the time because it's that important.
Right.
It's not.
It really is.
Oh, yeah, the partnership's like, no, I mean, and I don't know if you can get into much. I know the article that appeared on MSNBC.com mentions a number of examples of how tips have led to arrests and things of that nature. But any tips that you've seen? I don't want to get into specifics, but it kind of stands out where you're like, wow, that tip really made a difference.
Yeah,
do you have an example that you cite where?
Because of the abundance and the amount of information, we take the information, we get it out to the appropriate investigative unit, and they don't, the guys who are investigating a homicide, when they make an arrest, they don't call us right back and say, oh, that tip was occasionally they'll say, hey, that was a great tip.
Yep.
And we don't like to get into specifics because of the anonymity and that's the most important thing. The credibility of the office is the anonymity. Now, tips. The majority of our tips are on drugs. Probably about half of them.
Okay.
We get several tips on old homicides, past crimes in the past, homicides.
That must be interesting.
I've had information.
Guys saying, listen, I finally know who it was. It was Johnny so and so.
I had a 2-hour phone call with a woman. Regarding the Boston Strangler, and it was one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had in my life. But the tip was forwarded, and we'll see what happens with it. But it's interesting stuff. I mean, the Boston Strangler was 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
I think it was. Yeah,
and
60, 70, sure.
There's information out there,
right?
And we have to process
for that outlet or that venue in which to provide it.
Yeah, and again, we talked about the rewards, and it's more people clearing their conscience or just getting the reward of satisfaction of seeing that the bad guy taken up the street. High profile cases, the Clark Rockefeller case, a high profile media case where we get 20 tips on that one crime in a several hour period.
Sure.
Because it's in the media and it's on people's on radar screens.
They're seeing it all the time. Let me ask you, text a tip, which is the new thing, or is it 2 years? How old was the text a tip?
June 15th of 2007. So yeah,
2007, a couple of years. How effective has that been? The tipping, texting the tips.
Well, the numbers, they started out maybe 25% less than the calls, but now they're almost gone. This year we have 334 phone tips to date as of December 1st and 320 text tips. So it's almost for every phone tip now we're getting a text tip. Okay. And when the texting started, the phone tips increased considerably.
Yeah.
And it was part of the public relations campaign, but it brought people the awareness that there was a way to get in touch with us other than calling 911. Another option, texting, anonymous phone calls. Mm-hmm. But the texting is great because it's in real time, mm-hmm. and the questions and answers are in front of you.
Yeah.
Where when you're on the phone, you're making notes and you're writing it down, and sometimes you're finishing like, I can't read my own writing.
I can't read my chicken scratch, I know.
But
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
But the texting, it's all, laid out for you right
Yep.
on the computer, and then when you're done, you print it.
Pass it
and,
along.
and there's no identifying characteristics that identify the texter. It's not an email system.
Yep.
A lot of people think it's an email where, an email address comes up and it's from,
Yeah. You
and then
can
we
trace
just
it
keep
back
it a
to them.
secret.
Yep.
It's not like that. It goes to a third party. The third party takes out the identifying characteristics of the call, the email address, any names, and then we get the meat of the information, which is about the crime
Okay.
or the criminal. So it's
Just a reassurance of folks who are trying to send stuff in. Last, do we get time for one more question? Okay, beautiful. This went by kind of fast, didn't it?
it flew.
Because you're a talker, that's why. All right, to folks who are watching at home, who are kind of on the fence about texting, phoning something in, what would you say to try to convince them about, the importance of trying to help
I
out?
mentioned the reward, which is up to $1,000 depending on the crime and how much of the information was relevant. But again, I go back to the fear. If you're living in fear and you're sick of that thug that's on your street, the drug dealer that's bringing all these other people into the neighborhood, bringing in more criminal activity, cars are getting broken into, homes are getting broken into, and then they're pawning their stuff for drugs. We need to know about it. And this is an option, texting or phoning anonymously. The text number is 27463, and you just text the word tip to crime.
27463, which is crime.
Spells the word crime
Yeah.
on your cell phone or your regular phone. And 1-800-494-TIPS is the
Toll-free number for.
toll-free number for the Crime Stoppers unit.
So people, bottom line is you have options.
You have options.
And you might not get a chance to talk to Officer Michael Charbonnier.
You may.
Brother, we're going to have
Pleasure.
to have you back soon. Boot camp tomorrow?
No boot camp
Okay,
tomorrow.
no boot
so
camp. No boot
starts
camp
again
tomorrow.
after the first of the
That's
year.
another story for another show. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's show. Crime Stoppers, text a tip, 1-800-494-TIPS. Please, if you got a problem or an issue, utilize those resources. And thank you so much for watching tonight's show. Till next time, have a great week, everybody. Good night.